Hey now, Rob here, Rob School of Music. Early in the morning for a sick Rob, but we're here with the legend, one of my all-time favorite guitar players, Mr. Mark Lettieri.
Hey Rob, thanks man. How's it going?
It's going so good, brother. Thank you for doing. This is our third time doing one of these, and that's you're my first three-peat, so this feels very special.
Right on, indeed.
For your continued time. So just to refresh anyone new to this, and I'll link up to Mark and my previous conversations, but we're a music school, brick and mortar music school in Rockland County, New York. But this YouTube channel is designed to be a place where people can come and listen to the stories and lessons from our heroes and the people out there living the life of the 2025 rock star.
That's generous. Thanks.
Yeah. So just to warm it up in a comfortable, normal space to the previous ones we've done, the first question I like to ask is, what was the thing that made you say, I want to be a musician? What was your trigger point of entry?
Well, I think maybe being a musician and playing music to me were two different things. I wanted to play music as soon as I picked up a guitar and started messing around on it. I mean, it was something that connected with me and that was interesting and inspiring and unique and felt personal. And so I knew I was going to do that. And I knew I was going to make music and play music and discover music and listen to music and create sounds. Becoming a musician, I guess, in terms of like maybe as a career, didn't really come into my lexicon until I was almost finished with college. Because I sort of had another career path in mind that was not musical. But as I started to dip my toes into that, realized I didn't really want to do it. But I had a passion for music, a passion for creating. And I think it just took me a minute to learn how to get into the business, so to speak. Maybe a little bit later than most people who, their dream is to be a professional musician. I guess I should say, maybe I'll back up. My dream probably came pretty early. I thought it would be great to be like a well-known guitar player in a famous band or something like that. You have those dreams as a kid, but I didn't know how to get there. I didn't even know how to have a career, at 13, 14, 15. I just had a dream and a song in my heart, or whatever they say. But, so I guess by that point, I knew I was going to be a musician. I just didn't know in what capacity, if that makes sense. And then maybe by the time I was like 18, 19, it was like, well, 20, 21 was kind of like, okay, now I have a concept of how this can be a career, and I can do it, and it'll be what I do to make a living, and hopefully I can still enjoy it. So it took a minute, but it took some kind of discovering some other avenues for my my life to understand that I really wanted to make music work.
I love that. As you were finding that, oh wow, this can be what I'm going to do with my life, what was the process like in terms of, was it taking every gig that came your way? Was it every studio session? Was it endless touring? Like what was that? And what was the part two of that? What was the emotional toll on that in terms of, oh, this is a lot?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was all those things. Definitely taking every gig I could. I remember, accepting gig offers on Craigslist. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but there'd be a band that was looking for a guitar player, and I would show up and try out, and it usually didn't work, but thought it, what the heck, experience is experience, right? But yeah, I was playing all the time with whoever, wherever, in studios, outside of studios, in clubs, in churches, in schools, whatever it was, bars, just staying busy and making connections and building a network, really. And everything kind of happened organically after that. I never really slowed down. I haven't slowed down. I think it's just different now what I do, because I'm more of an artist and making my own records and touring my own music. But I did loads of tours with other artists as a freelance player. I work in bands that tour that aren't my that aren't under my own name, Snarky Puppy and Fearless Flyers, right? And then I'm very, very busy with my own music. So yes, yes to both of those questions. And that, well, I guess yes to the first half. I did all those things, and then the second half. Yeah, it's a big emotional toll in many regards. Outwardly, of course, because you're sharing music with people and those people have opinions about it. You book a show and you hope people come, and sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. Everything that goes into making a show happen or a tour, for example, takes an incredible emotional amount of fortitude to make it. There are 16 emails that go back and forth just to try to get a guitar cabinet for a gig, that's the reality of it. Or to get an answer as to whether or not their venue will take a percentage of your merch. These are the kinds of things that people who haven't done this probably don't even know that this happens, but this is what artists go through on a regular basis if they have a touring and recording career. All the little minutia to get the varying details together so that one single show can happen. Which is why every time I post tour dates and somebody's like, what do you have against such and such a city? And I was like, nothing. I have nothing against your city. I just couldn't get there this time. And if I did, it would mean another week away from my family. And sorry, but they're more important. So
how dare you?
I'll catch you on the next one. I promise. There's a lot of cities in the world, and I'm grateful that people want to see us play, but the reality is the reality.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, you're away from your family a lot. And I'm gonna sound like I'm complaining. This is what I chose. So I get it. I'm accepting of it, but it doesn't change that we're all human. We still have feelings. We can't suppress them forever just because we chose to do something that we like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're touring a great deal recently. To Napa just recently, and the European dates and stuff. What is a day in the life of a dude on a European tour? What does that look like?
Oh wow. Well, it kind of depends on the tour. Snarky Puppy, for example, we're pretty far along in our careers. We can afford some buses, which is nice. So we have two tour buses. One's just, it's kind of whoever wants to go on it, but it's band and crew. Basically, we have a pretty big touring party. And so essentially with that, which is similar to a US bus tour, is you basically wake up in a city that you weren't in the day before, and you get your act together and climb off the bus and maybe grab a bite to eat or something. Or I like to eat and then do like a little workout and then like eat again because I like to eat. But I try to make sure to work out between, and then you have a sound check, and then you have a show, and then you usually do some kind of meet and greet thing afterwards with the good folks that came to see you. And then you get back on the bus and drive somewhere and wake up in the next town and do it again. Being in Europe, though, hope maybe you get some time off. You get to go sightsee, check out some stuff. I like going on walks. That's what I do if I have spare time. I'll just wander, make sure I have a cell phone service so I can make my way back to the venue.
Hey now, Rob here, Rob School of Music. I'm going to take a quick minute of your time interrupting this video to let you know that my guitar course, I Can Play Guitar, is on sale currently at icanplayguitar.com. This is everything you would learn in your first year of guitar education with me in a convenient choose-your-own-adventure program. It's going to tell you all sorts of songs, the names of the strings, scales, customized backing tracks, all of your chords, bar chords, power chords, open chords, scales. Did I mention scales? Customized licks that I wrote just for you guys to learn that you can play over any type of music, and it is on sale right now. icanplayguitar.com.
But I like to wander and explore and that type of thing. And I'm a nerd, so I'll go to museums, check out stuff.
Look at all these folks.
Yeah, exactly. So perfect. We could hang out on tour. It'd be great. I love, like I mentioned, food. I love eating in Europe. Of course, that's some of my favorite cuisine over there. But you know, it's not much different than the States in terms of like the routine, right? Play a show, travel, play a show, you know. This tour that I'm doing with my band coming up, we don't have a bus, obviously. So we're going to be taking some trains. We're going to be taking some flights. We rented a van for like half of it. So basically that's van touring is essentially the heart of a touring musician. Everyone's got to do a van tour. And at some point in their career, I'm still doing them, you know, get in the van, drive to the next city. Thankfully, the portion of our tour where we are driving, the drives are pretty short. You know, set up the gear, play the show, take the gear down, go to the merch booth, say hello, continue to take the gear down, put it in the van, go to the hotel, wake up, drive, do it again. So that's what my European tour is going to look like next week.
It's really cool though. I think it's fascinating. I just saw 2 nights ago, which is why I think I have this horrible flu right now. I went to go see this band Code and Cambria.
Oh yeah.
I grew up with they're
cool.
From the same town I'm from. So to watch them, you know, 11 albums into their career doing a record release show and just seeing them still kicking ass, but just it reminded me of the process, everything everyone's going through. And like the van life, that's part of this journey. And it's almost like a rite of passage to experience the bond of a band together.
You can always tell the musicians that haven't done that yet.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they're on a tour and everything's handed to them. And it's like, no, man, you gotta earn this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to touch on, I'm going to jump all around. Sorry. Again, I apologize to anyone who's going to watch this. Voice sounds horrible. Not the normal background.
Sounds good.
I am sick. It's not what it's supposed to be, but here we are. I got my PRS painting my fiance did in the corner. So there is a
I like it. Very good.
Anyway, so since we've spoken, so many cool things have happened. Records have come out, experiences. The first thing I want to hit on is your signature guitar, which is I have 3 of them. I have the red one,
Thanks.
I have the white one, and I have the blue one. Next one will be the lilac one because the matte Fiore looks very cool.
Nice.
What was that process like, man? Like, I want all of it. I want how it started. I want the pickup choices, the wood choices. Like,
oh wow. Sure. Okay. Well, the relationship with Paul Reed Smith started, I think, in 2016, actually. They were releasing their 594 McCarty guitar. And, you know, I had kind of built up somewhat of a presence online as kind of like a guy that was playing lots of different instruments and making videos with them. And, you know, I think certain brands probably saw that and thought it was kind of cool. And maybe we can get our guitar in the hands of this guy and, you know, get some videos out of it, but also, you know, he's in these touring bands and he's got a profile as an artist. So we can, you know, see if he likes it. and so they emailed me and I actually told them no. And I've been pretty open about this story. So I don't think they're going to get upset, but, you know, I grew up idolizing guitar players that weren't playing PRS guitars. You know, my heroes were playing Fenders and Gibsons and Ibanez's and things like that. And so when you are a teen and you are, you know, loyal to your heroes like that, when another brand comes in, you're kind of like, nah, I don't know. And, of course I had a lot of growing up to do. Right. And so anyway, I said, I don't know. I've got a lot of guitars and, you know, maybe not really interested in this one right now. And they were understanding, but they were like, I think you're going to like it. We'll just send it to you. And so, you know, I'm sure the people watching this are just like, what kind of idiot turns down a free guitar? Right. But you know, there's layers to this. So anyway, so they sent me the guitar and I loved it. I mean, I was like, this is great. It's the, well, I don't know if it might be off camera, but it's you can kind of see part of it. It's the black double cut, which is the first one they sent me. And, you know, I had been playing a Les Paul for that sound up until they sent me that. And I was like, oh, wow. So this is what a mahogany, you know, double humbucker guitar set neck can really, really do. And so that fulfilled that role in my arsenal. And so started up a great relationship. I helped them do a little demo for the Sanzera amp, maybe about a year or two after we started the relationship with the 594. So they were just like a great company that I was friends with and really enjoyed. And then in the end of 2019, like December, maybe, they called and asked if I wanted to work on a model. And I was kind of like, okay. They're like, well, we have something in mind. Why don't we send it to you? And if you dig it, we can make your version of it. And they sent it to me and I didn't dig it. And with Paul, he wants to hear honest feedback. Like he doesn't like people BSing him because he's, famous or talented or whatever. Like you tell him what you feel. He wants to hear that. And I was like, I don't like this guitar. And he goes, okay, no problem. So I get a call about a week later from Beverly from A&R. And she's like, you know what? Forget that other guitar. Let's just design your guitar. And I was like, what do you mean? And like from top to bottom, we'll just do another model. We want to do that with you. Kind of what we did with John with the Silver Sky. We know you're a bolt-on neck player primarily. So let's take that. It'll be part of that line, but we'll just do your thing with it, And I was like, well, okay. And so we started that process. And it took well over a year. I mean, and we were working through the lockdown, the COVID pandemic, basically. So a lot of trips back and forth to FedEx, shipping guitars, testing pickups. And we started with kind of what I was familiar with, which was swamp ash body and a maple neck, which there's basically like 2 or 3 guitars. My Don Grosh guitar, my early Fender that I had when I was in high school, the Fiore is kind of a mix of those two, because those were kind of like my favorite instruments that I had really crafted a sound on. So I was like, well, if we're going to do this, it needs to have kind of that DNA that I'm used to, that feels at home to me. So we started there. 25.5 inch fretboard. I didn't want a 25. I wanted 25.5. It sounds different. I wanted a 2-post tremolo, because that's what I was used to. And I wanted 2 single coils and a humbucker, because that's what I was used to. And that's what I like. And I wanted some switching options so we could blend pickups, because that's what I was used to. And that's what I like. And so Paul said, okay, cool. That's what this process is we're going to make a guitar that really is yours, but also is going to hopefully bring the brand into some new players and, get some people geeked about it who didn't know that we did guitars like this. Right. So we went through a couple prototypes, changing everything from comfort, the comfort cut on the on the back, to the neck carve, to the actual the position of everything. The first prototype was like shifted to the left by like 1/4 of an inch, and I could tell. And I was like, guys, we got to shift it back, because I'm used to it being here. It feels like it's here. Right. So I think what they had originally done was kept the same spacing as maybe like another one, like a custom 24 or something like that. But I was like, no, it's got to be, back a little bit, like a vintage, Strat or whatever. And so that's what we did. And it basically the final prototype I got in December, at the very, very end of 2020. And it was like, we just got it done in time so that they could launch it at 2021 at that big online PRS thing that they were doing.
This one.
What? I guess it was. Well,
21. That was
that the online one? It was. Oh, yeah, I guess it was. Yeah, they did that in virtual. That's right. They did it instead of NAMM, because nobody did NAMM really. I don't think that year they can't.
That's weird, serendipitous. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was like another lifetime. Yeah. And so we had the 3 original colors. My daughter came up with the name, because the original guitar was the first prototype was that red color, the Amaryllis, which we ended up calling Amaryllis after the fact. But she came up with the name Fiore because she thought it looked like a flower. And we were thinking like, well, we could pick a name. Might be cool to have a name in Italian, because that's my, big part of my heritage. And so Fiore it's like a perfect name for a guitar. Mm-hmm. So that's what we came up with. And then we decided to have the color scheme kind of reflect some floral colors that I liked, which was, the black iris, the white one, which is called Sugar Moon, and then the Amaryllis. Those are all species of rose. Well, let's see. different flowers. The sugar moon is a rose, and then the black iris is obviously an iris. But anyway, let's see. I had my mom design the logo because she's a great artist, and I thought that would be cool to get her involved because, you know, obviously my family has been super supportive of my music since day one, so I got to honor them in some way there. So that's where the logo came from. And then, yeah, we just started doing more colors. You know, kind of the way it works, the way the business is the ones that kind of don't sell as much, they usually retire. And then we bring in a new color just to kind of keep the lifeblood going. But then it's cool because then you see the other ones like they're collector's items maybe or something. Yeah. I don't know. Or they're just going to be in the used rack somewhere. But it's been great. Yeah. So now we just did these satin finish ones and haven't changed anything about the guitar since it came out. I mean, that's not to say that we won't. I'm always tweaking in my brain about, you know, treble and bass and pickups and things like that. So maybe we'll do some tweaks, but I feel like that's a natural progression with any artist that's working on a guitar. But I'm really happy with it. And, you know, I take them everywhere I go.
It's a fantastic guitar, man. Like I'm a PRS guy and I have played nearly everything they've put out since 2007. And, I was always looking for a PRS guitar that did sort of the Strat type thing. And I have a silver sky and I love it, but it does the silver sky thing. I feel like the Fiore can do, if I'm on a gig where I need something a little heavier, it adapts to that. If I need something cleaner or funkier, it adapts to that.
Yeah.
It's just Swiss Army knife of guitar tones.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the way it was, the plan, because that's kind of the career musician that I am. And even in my solo stuff, it's fairly diverse, you know, sonically, I should say, maybe stylistically, whatever word you want to use. But yeah, it was really quite a testament to the guitar when I saw how many different kinds of players were playing it. I mean, it's really everyone from Simon McBride in Deep Purple to Errol Cooney with Janet Jackson to Kylie Miller with The Beaches. I mean, that's like classic rock, quintessential American R&B and Canadian pop punk rock, you know, indie rock. I mean, it's everywhere. The guitar is everywhere. There's guys in country bands playing it. I mean, and I was like, that's what I wanted to happen. I wanted people to go into a guitar shop and be like, I don't know who the hell Mark Lettieri is, and I don't really care, but this guitar is going to do what I need it to do for all these different gigs that I want to do. So,
yeah, it's awesome, dude. I mean, been around long enough, obviously, to see a lot of signature models come and go. And I think the ones that don't last are the ones that are so specific to one thing. And I think, you know, as musicians, we're all sort of musically agnostic these days.
Yeah, right.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Is there a green one coming ever? I love green guitars.
There might be. You'll have to wait and see.
Planting the seed. You heard it here first. Maybe. Yeah.
Well, I've heard for the people watching, I've heard all your opinions about rosewood fretboards and left-hand versions and SE versions, and we are taking stock of all your comments. I'll just say that.
I wasn't even going to go there, but good.
Oh yeah, but you were.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm respectful.
It's all good.
Commerce.
Yeah.
I've seen a baritone version also with different pickups. Is that a one-off? Is that specific to your baritone music? What was the genesis of that?
Well, it's something we're working on. That's all I can say about that.
Okay. I like that answer.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the baritone stuff, because I think you're like the prominent baritone guy, and I have come across many students in my world who I have one of the SE PRS baritones at the school.
Yeah.
And they reference you and your work as the gateway drug to that.
All right.
How did you, like, I had a baritone back in the day and I played Korn and Limp Bizkit on it. So
right.
How did you?
Well, the irony there, I think, is that the first baritone I ever played was the Ibanez Mike Mushok. Was it him? Yeah, I think. I think he had I think he ended up having a PRS one too.
He did.
Well, prior to that, I think he had an Ibanez one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a natural finish, like a natural wood colors.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I was in a rock band right out of college. We were kind of like it was kind of like softer King's X, I guess. I guess you could call it. Anyway, and we were doing a recording session, and the studio owner, engineer, producer friend was like, "Hey, you want to try like a baritone guitar part on this?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is." He goes, "Just play like low, just kind of play around the bass line." I was like, "Okay." And so that was the first time I'd ever played a baritone. This was probably 2008 or something, 2009, and didn't really think much of it beyond that. And then Michael League from Snarky Puppy started bringing them into the fold in Snarky's music. And so I ended up playing one on, oh my gosh. I feel like I may have, I don't think I played baritone on the Family Dinner Volume 1. I think I played baritone on Family Dinner Volume 2. Now you got me thinking. Anyway, so this was right around like 2014, 15, 16. I had become familiar with the guitars because of Snarky Puppy. And so I bought one as just like a session tool, basically, and put a little bit on this record I did called Spark and Echo. But again, it was more of like a textural thing. It wasn't intended to be a focus part, really. But then maybe around 2015 or so, I started just kind of like goofing around on. That's one way to discuss it. I was trying to come up with ideas to put on my Instagram page, because I was like posting a lot. And I was like, that's something I haven't done yet. Well, here's this baritone. Let's see what happens if I try to play like a Minneapolis Prince groove on this thing. And it was like, oh, wow, this is different and cool and fun. And I'm really resonating with this. And I don't think I've heard it done really like this or at all. And so that's how it kind of started, was just this sort of like niche, almost like social media exercise that I was kind of sharing with people. And it was fun to see people's reaction, because I think a lot of people hadn't heard a baritone or hadn't even seen one or thought it was a bass or whatever. So it's quite possible that, people think that you're supposed to play funk on them. Yeah. Or so, I don't know.
I think we're far enough removed,
maybe from like the country music and the spaghetti Western soundtracks or something, but I don't know. Who knows? I still love that sound though. I mean, I hope it never goes away, obviously. But I wrote a song for Snarky Puppy with the baritone that was a bonus track on the Culture Vulture record around that time, called Hefe, which was kind of a fun like country funk thing. And so I was getting used to seeing how the baritone was making people react. And after a while, I had done enough of these like Instagram and Facebook. This was back when you could post videos on Facebook and people would actually see them. Wow. Right. Yeah. Anyway,
so there was a time where your audience would see your own stuff.
That weird? Happened? I know, and you didn't have to pay for it. Yeah. Crazy.
Now you see this video.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, man. But anyway, so I had amassed enough of these to where people were kind of like asking for an album. And I hadn't really thought about that, because most of these jams were like a minute and a half long, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of turn them into songs. And thankfully it worked out. I did deep baritone sessions. And then when I did the second one, I called it Volume 2. So now the first one's just sort of known as Volume 1, even though it's not technically called Volume 1. And yeah, I'm slowly cataloging Volume 3. I've kind of had some writer's block lately. I just haven't really, I don't know. I need to, whatever. It'll happen. I don't really write much in the spring anyway. So maybe that's just I usually get real creative over the summer. So something will happen, but yeah, it's been a cool side of my playing. And, I try to kind of keep that style of writing separate from my other styles of writing. Cause I know it's all going to sound like me, cause it is me, but, the baritone guitar deserves a certain treatment. I think when you play it in the context that I play it, it's really for me a rhythm and a groove instrument. There's a little bit of melody, but that's not really the focus. I don't want people to hear it and think it was a regular guitar or a 7-string or something. Like I want them to go, oh, that's a baritone guitar. So I try to let the guitar is the key. That's why I'm in service of it when I do the baritone records. So
cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go into the PRS 40th anniversary party. And your killer set, and then the other musicians on the stage, and then of course the John Mayer component. How did that all come together? Part one. Part two, where did rehearsals? Because it seems so fucking organic what was happening.
Where did we rehearse?
Or did you rehearse?
Oh, did we rehearse? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, sure, you got it. Well, it came about. Beverly, again, she's like the queen over there. Wonderful. And she called, said, hey, we're doing this big party at NAMM. Are you free the weekend? I said, yeah. She said, it's going to be this big concert. We would love you and your guys to come play a song or a few or whatever. And it's going to be really great. And I was like, cool. Who else is coming? Because she had kind of mentioned a few names. I was like, yeah, cool. Awesome. And she's like, well, we're trying to get John Mayer to come play, but we're not really sure if he can get his band or whatever, or the guys that he normally brings in, just logistics, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, we'll play with him. He can use my band. I had met John years ago at a gig with our mutual friend Bob Reynolds, tenor player from Snarky and just an incredible solo artist in his own right. So Bob and I play together a lot, and we had a gig together at the Blue Whale, RIP. It's gone in LA. It was a great club with Bob Reynolds' guitar band, which was this cool project that he's done numerous times. And he was like, man, I'm going to call John. Maybe he'll come and jam. And he did. And so John showed up, he sat in with us and played, and we had a great time. Awesome to play with him. It was kind of cool. He walked in with his guitar on his back and his Fender Deluxe in one hand and a Tube Screamer in the other. And amazing. And just sat, and the audience was just like, oh, that looks like John Mayer. It is John Mayer. He's a tall guy, right? So anyway, we played. It was great, cool. And John and I had kind of kept in touch, on Instagram and et cetera, and throughout the years. And so I figured he would probably be comfortable, sitting playing with us. And so Bev asked him, and he was like, yeah, absolutely, cool. So I was like, great. We can, John's got a band. John's going to be there. We'll be his band. We'll learn his tunes. It's going to be great. And then they were like, well, Beverly was like, do you guys want to back some other people since you're already there? And we were like, of course, we can, my band can play anything. I'll say that in front of the world. So we're not afraid to take on some challenges or whatever. So she was like, great. Randy Boland's going to play with you. Randy, and I did know Randy. He actually plays a Fiore sometimes, but incredible funk R&B player who's played with a billion of your favorite R&B and soul artists. So he played, and then Philip Sace, who's like a blues maniac from Canada and one of the sweetest guys ever, but just like total firepower on the guitar. So I was like, cool, we're going to do like smooth kind of groovy R&B with Randy. We're going to do, there's my cat. We're going to do like super heavy blues Hendrix stuff with Philip. And then we're going to do my set, and we're going to do John's set, and it's going to be rad. And so we rehearsed very briefly because you can imagine that. Well, you were there, right?
I was there.
Yeah, right. You were there. So you saw there were like 40 amps on stage or whatever it was. And lots of people.
I was in the balcony diagonally up and down. I could hear your communications to each other, and that's why.
Interesting. Yeah, cool. So and we were the second half of the party. The first half had a whole other host of artists. So the logistics of the whole thing had to be insane. So we had a little bit of time. We were all super prepared. So Philip came in, we ran his stuff. I think we played each song once. Same with Randy. And then, Yeah, John came in. We probably played for maybe 30 or so minutes. I think we all wanted to keep playing because we were really enjoying, rehearsal and getting to some vibes and stuff. And but we had to get off because they had some other stuff going on. So we ran each song maybe once. I don't think we ran that JJ Cale song. I think that we just pulled that one out. And that was it. I mean, it was really, really fun. I mean, obviously you could see it on our faces. We were having a blast. So yeah, it'd be great to do it again.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I posted on Instagram. We talked about it the next day. Like, this is the super group I never knew I needed.
Funny. Yeah.
And there was this like breakdown sort of funk jam thing in Vultures that the two of you did. And it seemed like the interplay was so natural. Were you just improvising?
Yeah, we were just playing. I mean, I know John's sound, and I think he knows mine. If you have two players that are really listening and aware and open and focused, you can do anything like that. That's not hard for me at this point, to communicate with another guitar player in real time. I think the funny thing about that set, judging by the YouTube comments, is like, that was the longest saxophone solo at a guitar show I think I've ever. And, John called me later after he's just like, hey, that was kind of a flex having Bob come up there and blow on Vultures. That was a great idea. I'm glad we did that. I was like, yeah, man, got to keep people on their toes. They don't need another guitar solo. We're going to make music.
It sounded so good. And
it's incredible.
It was the perfect counterpoint to what you guys were doing. Like,
exactly.
I don't know. I needed that in that conversation. Thank you.
Right. Well, if I can present a diverse musical experience for the listener, I'm going to do that. So
it was awesome, brother. All right. So I like just to spend the last part here, just kind of talking on your tone a bit. I know you have a signature chorus pedal, the signature drive pedal with the EQ in there.
Yeah.
Your tone is immaculate and it is diverse. I think I mentioned to you, Shimmy Tiger is one of my favorite songs. It was the song of last year. My son and I listened to 8,000.
Oh, thanks, man. Awesome.
So catchy, so clear. I guess let's start on that song and then branch out in terms of just tone in general. But how'd you come up with the lick? It's the vocal, the melody is so vocal sounding. What guitars you're using, what amps?
Yeah, sure. I wrote that one the summer that I wait a minute. I wrote that one the summer of 23. I think that was definitely like summer vibes in that song. So, yeah. And I wanted something that was kind of a little bit more pop than maybe what I've done. I mean, the song is still 6.5 minutes long and has like a very in-depth bridge, but that's the jazz part of me that I can't get out, I guess. So you'll have to sit through that. But
more, please.
More. Well, the funny thing about that is I played the song for my daughter who named it, and she said it was too long. And I was like, you don't know anything. You're 6, and then I think she likes it now, but I understand. But I played it, for some other friends and my engineer. And I actually had a couple versions where I had chopped up stuff. Like there was a version without the bridge. There was a version without the second verse. And everyone's just like, I don't know. Like now I've heard the things that you've chopped out. I miss them. And it's just not, it sounds like you're trying to put a square peg into a round hole so you can have a shorter song for Spotify or something. It's like, don't do that. So I'm glad I didn't do that. So now it's a nice pop journey as it was intended to be. Anyway, so recording it, guitars. I think the whole thing is the red Fiore. Let's see that. Yeah, I think I'd use that on pretty much the entire track. The cleans are direct into the computer for most of them. I think, I just, put like just into my Apogee. So there's kind of like that DI thing. I think maybe there's some cleans in the background that are some clean amp. I honestly, you know what, dude? I actually think I wrote all this stuff down. I hope this isn't wasting your time. Okay. All right. Let's see. I know it's here. I actually wrote down all the tones at some point. I just got to find. Oh, here we go. Cities tones. Shimmy Tiger. Okay, here it is. The main riff was my PRS Hendrix 50 amp. Now, all the real amps on this were done through a Sur reactive load with various cabinets. I didn't use any real cabinets. It's all impulse response, the reactive load cabinets. So the main riff, yeah. Let's see. It was a PRS, which a pedal called a Westone, which is a pretty cool drive pedal that my friend Shane Henry makes. And so that was the main riff. Down, da 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 down, da 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 don't. Right. Let's see. The melody in the solo was the same amp. The PRS Hendrix with the J-Rocket HRM and the J-Rocket Dude put together, which is kind of like my live lead tone. So I wanted that on the record. And the verse was actually that same setup, just with less gain. Yeah. So I guess I used the Hendrix 50 for the whole thing.
Very cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
So you mentioned the reactive. Are you doing everything just there? Are you tracking guitars in your home studio?
This is it. This is the mothership here. But yeah, I mean, I use the reactive load. I use the Kemper. I use neural DSP plugins a bunch. It just depends on the project. I got the new neural DSP Soldano plugin, which is really cool. I used that on a session the other day for a friend of mine. So it just depends on the project. I mean, with my last solo record, can I tell you something? I really wanted to use real amps, but miking a cabinet, my house just isn't set up for that. So I just used the reactive load, and none of the songs on that record really needed to feel like an amp in a room, if that makes sense. I think the only song that maybe could have done that was Black Iris, but I just chose to kind of go a different route with the tone to kind of keep it a little bit more quirky and less like, here's a band in a room, that's fine. I've done that numerous times, but so I wasn't super relying on room sounds. So having the reactive load worked out great.
It sounds amazing. I mean, your records always sound amazing.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to my engineer, Joey Lomas. I mean, he's been with me since my first record and really knows my guitar sound and how I like the records to feel. He really does a great job mixing to where everything's really clear, but it's not overhyped. So you can listen to the whole record at like a loud volume and hear everything and your ears won't get tired.
Right.
A lot of modern records have so much compression on them now that you can't listen to them for more than 10 minutes.
Absolutely. My buddy has a studio. We were literally having this conversation over the weekend. Like, it's the art of being nice to our ears. It seems like it's gone.
Dude, when you get a good mix or a good master, I use Dave McNair for mastering and he's just the best. When you get a good mix and a good master, you can crank it to, it's almost like a tube amp. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's that one spot where you're just like, this is it. And you can do that with music too, where it hits it right and all the little transients are blooming in the right way. Like, that's what I look for in a mix. And I don't want to get to that point if the volume knob is like down here and there's no room. You know what I mean? There's no room. There's no space. Yep. So hats off to the fellas.
Yeah, man. When you're out live, are you using Kemper? Are you using tube amps? What do you use?
I use amps. Now Kempers will make an appearance if it's like a in-ears only, no amps on stage. If you watched any of the last Snarky Puppy live recordings, we were using Kempers, which is basically just a studio recording, but in a room with a bunch of people. But right. So maybe that doesn't totally qualify, but on stage, I do like to have a real amp, or two. I like two. Stereo's really fun.
Are you starting like with your chorus? Or are you doing stereo with that?
It's not true stereo. It's basically just two amps. I usually do like a ping pong not really a ping pong delay, but like a quarter note on one side and a dotted eighth on the other. It's pretty standard for me. And then, yeah, so like 2 twins or 2 deluxes or 2 DeVilles or like the Hendrix 20s that's right behind me. Those things, 2 of those sound really cool together. So yeah, 2 amps are better than 1, but I can get away with 1. I do plenty with 1. You know.
Fair enough. All right, brother. I'm gonna close this out here with my rapid fire questions.
Oh boy.
I did most of it with you previously, so I'm not going to be redundant, but I just have a handful of guitar effect related questions and a few band related questions. So the name of the game is it's this or that. The answer is always truthfully both, but we don't want that.
So I got to pick one.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Delay or reverb?
Reverb.
Okay. Fuzz or overdrive?
Overdrive.
Phaser or chorus?
I'm going to go phaser, which I know it's like always, phaser.
So of all these questions, and there's like probably 70 of them that I've written over the years I've been doing this, that's the only one I stand strong on. Phaser does that. Like, I think Have a Cigar, like, you know, that just, it's a kick-ass sound.
Well, I think a good chorus is perfect. You know, there's so many applications, but I think a phaser actually works for more different kinds of music. So that's why I say phaser.
All good.
Yep.
This one, I probably know the answer, but a wah pedal or a whammy pedal?
Oh, neither. I guess a wah. I don't know. I haven't used, I'll say wah. Whammies are awesome. I probably would treat them. I would just make noise with them.
It gets obnoxious very quickly. There are some players. Eric Gales is great with the whammy. He only uses it maybe twice in one 90-minute gig, and it's perfect. You know, it's a right amount.
Yeah.
All right, music related ones. Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
All right. John or Paul?
Paul.
Okay, I agree. Bowie or Dylan?
Oh, there we go. I'm back. Bowie.
Right there. Bowie. Okay, I agree there. Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin?
Ooh. I guess I'll have to go. Queen.
Have you seen that the Led Zeppelin movie that just came out last month?
No.
It's really good. It's like the first year of their existence from the beginning through the second record coming out. It's amazing. It's really cool.
Awesome.
IMAX, and they play it really loud in the theater. Okay, Queen is the answer to that. Pearl Jam or Nirvana?
Pearl Jam.
Agreed, 100%. And then Sammy Hagar or David Lee Roth?
Oh, come on. I don't know. I guess David Lee Roth, but you know, what was the quote from that movie Airheads? He's like, yeah. Who'd you choose in the big Halen and Roth split? Halen or Roth? And the guy's like, Van Halen. He goes, he's a cop. And he goes, hey man, they sold a lot of records after after Dave left the band.
I used to pull the last question used to be Lemmy or God.
Yeah, Lemmy is God, right?
I was offending people with that. But
Airheads, a classic movie. I'll probably choose DLR just because that's, you know.
My understanding of it is Sammy is technically the better vocalist, but Roth is the better David.
And I'd probably rather hang out with Sammy.
Yeah.
And play music with Sammy and record with Sammy. But if I'm just going to listen to some guy screaming at a mic, I'll probably choose David Lee Roth.
Absolutely. Dude, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate, like I said, you know, I feel very honored to get to talk with you anytime.
Yeah, my pleasure, awesome. Man. Sure. And congrats on the engagement, dude. That's great news.
Thanks, brother. Thank you so much. When you met her, you were so sweet, and she took note of that.
Of course. Yeah, man. Nice. I'm happy you guys are happy. That's awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Well, good training. Hope to see you out on the road.
Yes, sir.
Stay safe.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon, man.